Now I know you've been trying to shallow out that club. Everyone's trying to do it. All the pros are doing it. If you want to stop coming over the top and steep and want to start shallowing out that club and getting that club in the slot, I have a great drill for you. So the biggest issue that I see that people have with this is they really want that trail arm, that elbow, to work out away from the body. You can see how that really steepens the shaft. Now that feels really powerful, but the problem is when you do that, you steepen the shaft, and now you have to stand up and flip the club through impact. That's going to rob you of all your power. It's going to make you inconsistent. So what we want to do is get that club shallowing out, so that way we can have that club in the slot and we can really turn through that ball, get the hands in front at impact, and be able to get that really good speed and compression. So for this drill, what I want you to do is initially without a ball, I just want you to go up to the top and pause at the top. Now let's drop the arm, the trail arm, off the club. You can see when I do that, the club naturally just wants to drop and shallow. So what's happening there is my lead arm here, my upper arm, my humerus, and my shoulder here is internally rotating. So that's turning my elbow out toward the ball. And then with my wrists here, it's internally rotating as well. It's pronating, and that's also getting the club to shallow out. So if you imagine, it's almost like turning a doorknob, right? That's what's happening with the club. So we're here, and now that doorknob is turning, and that's getting that club to shallow out. So let's do one. Let's go up to the top. Let's turn the doorknob, let that arm drop off there, then we're going to turn through. Now what's really, really important is that we turn through the ball. We can't come, when we're coming down steep, we're generally not going to turn through the ball, because if we did, right, if we're coming down steep and I turn through the ball, I'm going to come so over the top it's not even funny. So I have to, when I come down steep, I have to kind of stand up and flip to get that club to work closer down on plane to be able to hit a functional golf shot. So when you get the club shallowing out, you have to turn through the ball. Otherwise, if I did that early extension, I move my hips toward the ball, and I had the club shallow, well, my club's going to work too much from the inside. I'm more than likely going to hit the ground before the ball. Even if I get to the ball, I'm going to hit a big block or a hook, maybe an S word, something like that. The results aren't going to be good. So I have to, when I shallow out the club, I also have to really make sure I turn through the ball. So we're going to do that with our legs, right? So I really need you to kind of squat down into the ground. And a really good visual that I like to have for this is to imagine you're standing on top of a pickle jar and you're trying to twist that pickle jar, right? So I need to feel like I'm pushing out that way with my lead leg to push my hip back. And I need to feel like with my trail leg, I'm pushing back behind me to twist off that pickle jar. Now, I want to feel like I'm getting more to my lead side, like more of that pressure is in my lead side, but that's the feeling that I want to have, is that I'm twisting off the pickle jar. So again, I'm going to go up to the top, I'm going to pause, I'm going to drop the right arm off of there, and then I'm going to twist the pickle jar and turn through where the ball would be. So I want you to get some good reps in with that, where you're pausing at the top, letting the right arm drop, letting the club drop, and then turning through the ball. Now what we want to do is we want to do that in more of a fluid motion in the downswing. So we're still going to pause at the top, but I want you, as you're letting that arm drop off there, I want you to start turning through the ball. So that would look something like this. To the top, I'm letting that drop, and now I'm turning through the ball. So get in another 10 reps where you're doing that fluid kind of motion there, where you're not doing the pause as you're coming down, you're only pausing at the top, letting it drop and turning through at the same time. So once we start getting more comfortable with that, now we want to start adding the trail arm in there, because we can't hit balls with our lead arm only. I mean, we could, but it would be pretty hard. So we want that trail arm in there for support, so that way we can have consistent contact. So when we put the trail arm on there, we really want to feel like that club is still dropping back behind us. So what's going on with our trail arm? Well, it's just the opposite of the lead arm. The elbow is going to be working toward the ball, but it's actually going to be externally rotating in my shoulder here. So my humerus and my shoulder here, that's external rotation. And then with my trail hand, my wrist is turning like that. So my palm's kind of pointing up to the sky, and that's what's referred to as supination or supination, depending on how you say it. I've heard it said both ways. But that's what I need to have happen to get that club to drop more behind me so I can turn through the ball. So again, I'm going to go up to the top, I'm going to pause, I'm going to do those motions, I'm going to let that club drop behind me, and then I'm going to turn through the ball. Once I get comfortable with that, now I'm going to try and do that in more of a fluid motion, just like I did previously. So I'm going to go up to the top, pause, I'm going to let the club drop as I turn through the ball. Get 10 more of those in, and then once you feel comfortable with that, then let's try to add the ball, and let's do it with the golf ball there. So when you add the ball, I want you to do the pause at the top initially, and I want you to go nice and slow with it. If you're hitting off of a mat, that's perfect. If you're hitting off of actual turf, what I'd recommend doing is teeing up the ball. It'll make it a little bit easier at first. So let's try to do one here. Let's try to go where we go up to the top, we pause at the top, let the club drop behind us as we're turning through. Let's see if we can get a decent shot here. And again, we're going nice and slow with this. I'm not trying to go for speed here. I'm just trying to get the motion down. So up to the top, pause. All right, so hit that one there pretty solid. I was able to get my club path pretty close to zero, just a hair to the right. But you notice here that my face was open, right? The ball started to the right a little bit and even faded a little bit to the right. Well, the reason for that is that when you get the club more shallowed out, it effectively opens the face. If you're someone who's used to coming down steep, well, you can flip through contact, and that's going to help you to square up the face. So if you look here, my wrist angles, my lead wrist is cupped, my trail wrist is flat. Well, if I'm shallowing out the club and I'm pivoting through impact, I'm getting my hands in front, and I have those same wrist angles, my club face is going to be wide open, just like we saw here. So if I want to straighten that out, I want to make that, that push fade that I had there, and I want to turn that into a really powerful draw when I'm shallowing out the club and get the best of everything. Get that club in the slot, getting those hands in front to get that compression, and then getting that square face contact. I need to be doing the move, which is where we're learning these specific wrist angles that are going to get that club face squared up. So what I recommend doing is going to the move in conjunction with this drill to get the club shallowing out, and continue to work through the move to get the face square as you're shallowing out as well. So to get to the move, all you have to do is click the instruction tab